It's Nolan.
Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
It seems I've been missing from the scene, but I'm always coming right back. In the city, just a couple niggas with me, cause I know I gotta watch my back. And I'ma be the realest when the dark falls down. And I'ma still be standing when the sky fall out. They say it's gang gang till it's time to roll out. But when them things bang with them niggas at now.
I had niggas turn their back cause I ain't blow up quick enough. Now the sun's picking up, I see they started moving sus. Every other day somebody tryna pick in my brain. I got consulting fees for that, my boy. Shit done changed, I need at least $1 million plus a Richard Millie. I don't think they feel me, y'all. This game I drop, I'm on my gilly. Tell me what the dilly, stupid, silly fuck. My girl exclusively in trucks. You sending text, but I no check. We make the message self-destruct. Ain't even chasing women. I just state my business, getting straight to chicken. Seen too many niggas lose their freedom for they code to finish. Shit is switching. I've been peeping all this from afar. 30 miles from out the city, I just show up to do my job, nigga. Ever since COVID, I've been laying my lowest. Started weighing pros and cons and saw this shit was all bogus. I'm just exchanging value. Speak my truth, but not just pray it matters. Can't make excuses if you ain't actively changing patterns.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Act like that little stutter didn't happen. As y'all know, this Jay-Z thing is it's going on way too long, but it is what it is, right? This is the process. They got to file paperwork, and for every piece of paperwork, they have to come back with some paperwork, which leads to more paperwork, okay? So at this current point, Jay-Z, Alex Spiro are responding to the judge. This is the big case, the New York case, the SA case. We're not talking about no side missions. We're not talking about the lawsuit that Jay-Z filed in LA. We're not talking about the lawsuits that Tony Buzbee are filing in Texas. This is the main event stuff happening here, where Jay-Z and co have responded. And they're filing for sanctions to be leveraged on Tony Buzbee and his accuser. And as I've told y'all probably know this by now anyway, sanctions are fines, and they also want this case to be stricken, right? Jay-Z is still steadfast that he wants this thing removed. He wants this thing knocked out of his peripheral. But I'm not sure if it's going to be that easy, unfortunately, because it just hasn't been that easy up to this point. But we're going to go through everything as we have up to this point. Okay? So the first thing that I'm going to show is his request for sanctions. All right. So United States District Court, Southern District of New York, as it's always been, civil action. Jane Doe versus Sean Combs, blah, 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 Sean Carter, all right? This is notice of defendant Sean Carter's motion for sanctions and to strike the complaint pursuant to Federal R Civil P11, okay? They state, please take notice that upon the accompanying memorandum of law, declaration of Alex Spiro, and accompanying exhibits and other arguments or materials that the court may consider before this motion is taken under submission by the court, defendant Sean Carter will move this court before the Honorable Annalisa Torres, blah, 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 at a date and time to be determined by this court for an order dismissing plaintiff's amended complaint pursuant to Rule 11C of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, imposing monetary sanctions on Anthony Buzbee and the Buzbee Law Firm, directing the parties to confer regarding a briefing schedule for the determination of Mr. Carter's reasonable attorney fees and costs, and such other and further relief the court deems just and equitable. Okay, so they're still asking for this thing to be dismissed. They want sanctions to be leveraged upon Tony Buzbee, and they want all legal fees to be paid off because, unfortunately, Jay-Z feels he's being put in a position where he has to pay exorbitant legal fees for something that is completely frivolous and incorrect. All right, so that's that piece, but there's a lot more to it. So here in a separate document, they have their reasoning based on law as to why they think this should be thrown out and sanctioned and etc. Right? And for those of y'all that have been following this thing, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to point out that this is a continuation of things that they've already been stating. They're just repeating themselves, rewriting and repeating themselves, and then adding in a couple little things here and there that may move the judge left or right, or at least get her to see things from a different perspective. But most of this stuff is going to be a replay of everything that we've already talked about. They're just trying to get this thing behind them, okay? So, preliminary statement. While the allegations stated in the complaint in this case are gravely serious and injurious to Mr. Carter's hard-won reputation, and they keep talking about his reputation and how hard it was for him to gain this reputation because he put in 30 years in entertainment for him to get here. Why would he want it to be thrown away by somebody who could just say anything about him? Many of them on their face strain the outer bounds of credulity, and none of them appears to have been subjected to even the most rudimentary diligence by the filing attorney who initially signed his name to them and has since declined to withdraw them. Because the federal rules and professional ethics require more of a filing attorney, Mr. Carter now respectfully seeks appropriate sanctions, right? So they're saying that he's mishandling justice in so many words. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11B3 requires every attorney who signs a complaint to certify that to the best of the person's knowledge, information, and belief formed after an inquiry reasonable under the circumstances, the factual contentions have evidentiary support, or if specifically so identified, will likely have evidentiary support after a reasonable opportunity for further investigation or discovery. He's saying he ain't got no evidence. It's the long and short of it. As judges in this district and elsewhere have long held, plaintiffs may not file a complaint in this court without having made a reasonable investigation of the facts. That rule accords with the rules of professional conduct, which prohibit any attorney from knowingly asserting material factual statements that are false. Okay? Those basic guardrails on litigation are critical to the integrity of the judicial process. Courts rely on attorneys to conduct a reasonable investigation into the facts alleged in a complaint to avoid wasting judicial and party resources litigating meritless claims. Right? Who wants to waste time on this bullshit when we could be out doing other things with our lives? Moreover, in cases where the allegations assert outrageous or criminal conduct, an attorney certification that the allegations are reasonably supported by evidence ensures that parties cannot improperly use statements in judicial filings, often shielded from defamation liability by the litigation privilege, to impugn the reputations of innocent people or attempt to extract unwarranted settlements. Because that's where this thing started from the beginning, was to extract an unwarranted settlement with that demand letter saying, hit me up. If not, we're going to the people. Plaintiff's lead attorney, Anthony Buzbee, has violated Rule 11B by either knowingly making false allegations about Mr. Carter in the amended complaint, failing to conduct an adequate investigation into the complaint's factual allegations. Remember, he said a whole other law firm vetted her. He didn't properly vet her, but for whatever reason, he's still fighting tooth and nail to continue with this thing. Or at minimum, failing to withdraw the complaint once it became clear that numerous allegations in the complaint are false and the other allegations are therefore at least highly suspect. The First Amendment complaint alleges that following the 2000 Video Music Awards, the plaintiff was drugged and at a celebrity party. But almost immediately after the FAC was filed, NBC News journalists determined that a number of allegations were either false or highly doubtful. For example, paragraph 44 of the complaint claims that the party occurred at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway that was approximately 20 minutes from the VMAs by car, but photographs show that after the VMAs, Mr. Carter attended a party at Lotus, a nightclub in New York. Paragraph 60 states that after the alleged assault, plaintiff's father drove to pick her up, but her father has no recollection of doing so, despite the fact that it would have been a 10-hour drive round trip to retrieve his 13-year-old daughter from a random gas station. Thank you for bringing the yapper out. Now, some people ain't gonna like this. Some people are gonna say this is a continuation of lies, but these are the things that they put out there that they can't fucking prove. Let me scale back. Right? Paragraph 46 states that plaintiff spoke to celebrities at the alleged party, but when journalists pressed her as to which celebrity she spoke with, she named a person who was in Chicago that evening performing at a concert. Hell, she even made comments about the niggas' tattoos to make it even further, just for them tattoos to be in a whole nother state too. Come on. Oh boy. Paragraph 46 states that plaintiff spoke to celebrities at the alleged party, but when journalists pressed her as to which celebrity she spoke with, she named a person who was in Chicago that evening performing at a concert. Paragraph 40 states that the plaintiff watched the VMAs on a Jumbotron. In fact, photographs from that evening showed there was no Jumbotron, as New York City had denied MTV a permit. Come on, man. These are key details in your shit. And the same paragraph says that plaintiff approached limousine drivers at the VMAs, but video shows that the limousine area was cordoned off by police and inaccessible to fans. So how did she just mosey her way over there with the police? Not to mention, Gene Deal said we ain't even used limos at that time, homie. We was in SUVs. Y'all should have put that in there too, but whatever. By any objective measure, the fact that nearly every step in plaintiff's narrative, from her arrival at the VMAs to her interactions with the limousine driver and celebrities to the ride with her father, turns out to be false or highly unlikely, casts considerable doubt on plaintiff's allegation that Mr. Carter touched her, we'll just say that, which he did not. Confronted with those glaring red flags, a competent and ethical attorney would have not only omitted the many erroneous allegations from the complaint, but also completed a thorough and careful vetting of the core assault allegation before affixing his or her signature to the complaint. Abiding by that ethical duty was especially important here, given the defamatory character of the assault allegation and the near certainty that the complaint would generate massive publicity in light of the identity of the defendant, inflicting irreparable reputational harm and forcing him to explain to his own children that he had been falsely accused of assaulting a child. Now, I'm just trying to understand why stuff like this could continue when we see it. Stevie Wonder know better than this shit. And they not lying when they say causing irreparable harm, because no matter how this thing turns out, there's so many people in this world that are going to say, he should be locked up. He did that shit. I don't care what happened. I believe he did it. I believe he paid off the dad. I believe he paid off whoever they needed to pay off. He got so much money. He's a billionaire. He could pay the devil himself and God. So it is irreparable harm to his reputation, because now that this has been taken to the place where it is, you can't get that stain off your jacket, and he can walk around and try to be as normal as he wants to be for the rest of his life. There's always going to be this thing looming over his head while he's at the Super Bowl, while he's doing his own shit, while he's in the studio recording, when he's raising his kids and out seen at the park with his children. Somebody, 1 out of 100 people, I'm not saying he goes to the park, but I'm just saying, anything he does, there's always going to be somebody looking with a uncertain eye, like, why is he here? He did that. And I don't give a fuck, man. Like, that shit's not right. And conducting a thorough inquiry is particularly critical, whereas here, the plaintiff has no corroborating witness for her account and claims that she did not tell a soul about the incident at any point in the last quarter century, including her father, who supposedly picked her up. But it appears that Mr. Buzbee failed to conduct any such inquiry. That a reporter was able to undercut almost all of the events of plaintiff's narrative just 5 days after the FAC was filed only highlights the complete lack of investigation undertaken by her own attorneys. A simple call to her father, a review of publicly available video footage and photos from that night at and after the VMAs, or a review of publicly available property records would have quickly revealed the implausibility of her allegations. But Mr. Buzbee has all but admitted that he declined to undertake such a basic investigation. When confronted by NBC News journalists with the series of false allegations in the complaint, Mr. Buzbee sought to cover for his utter lack of diligence by claiming his client would undergo a polygraph examination, an offer he seems to have abandoned since making it weeks ago. We still have not seen a polygraph come to materialize. He said it was all good to do it. Now he ain't mentioned it since. And he passed the buck, stating that another unnamed firm had vetted the allegations and that the Buzbee law firm would continue to vet plaintiffs' claims and collect corroborating data to the extent it exists. That is entirely improper. It was Mr. Buzbee's responsibility to conduct a factual investigation into the allegations before he signed the complaint, not afterward, and he cannot evade that core ethical responsibility by relying on the work of other attorneys who did not sign the pleadings and are not associated with his firm. So he's passing this off to other people to go check this out because he ain't trying to do the work. Moreover, although Mr. Buzbee claimed in his statement to the journalist that his firm had interrogated plaintiff intensely, she admitted to the journalist that she had made some mistakes and was guessing about key details, serious problems with her account that Mr. Buzbee would have uncovered had his firm actually interrogated the plaintiff. Instead of conducting a thorough investigation, Mr. Buzbee filed a complaint setting forth one of the most serious allegations of criminal conduct imaginable, with an accompanying publicity campaign on social media and elsewhere based on an uncorroborated claim of assault that relied on an easily disprovable factual narrative. And inexplicably, even though the NBC News story was published over 3 weeks ago, Mr. Buzbee has taken no action to withdraw a complaint that contains provably false statements. None of that is acceptable for a member of the bar of this court or any other court. That is perhaps why Mr. Buzbee has not obtained admission pro hac vice, despite having signed numerous pleadings and other filings in the 2.5 months since signing the original complaint. Indeed, although Mr. Buzbee advised the court on December 20th that he was admitted to practice in the Eastern District of New York and intended to apply for reciprocal admission to the Southern District, he has not even sought interim admission pro hac vice while his application is pending, despite signing more filings over the ensuing weeks. So this is something that I've seen y'all talking about. Like, he said that he's licensed to practice in Eastern District, but what about the Southern District where this case is actually being held? And he still has not obtained that. He has not even asked for it, is what they're saying, or at least not asked for the permission to not be licensed, but the permission to practice in that division or in that district, you know, with the judge's permission. Damn. Whether that reflects an improper effort to avoid the jurisdiction of this court or just a failure to act with anything approaching reasonable diligence, it reinforces the propriety of imposing sanctions here, meaning we need to fine his ass. Given the horrific nature of the allegations in the FAC, every day this inadequately vetted complaint remains on the docket causes extraordinary harm to Mr. Carter, his family, his businesses, and his employees, especially when a complaint alleges violent, felonious conduct that is defamatory per se. Attorneys should not be permitted to destroy a person's reputation by alleging facts without a sufficient investigation or by failing to withdraw those allegations once it is clear that they are false or exceedingly unlikely to be true. Mr. Carter respectfully requests that the court vindicate Rule 11 by immediately dismissing the FAC against Mr. Carter and imposing an appropriate monetary sanction or fee award against Mr. Buzbee and the Buzbee law firm. We need this shit tossed out. We need our manana. We need to get back to our life. And every day that y'all are not complying with our requests, it's only causing more harm to my client. That's what he's saying in so many words. We already know what it is. It's just that they're communicating it to the judge. Okay? Now, when we get to this factual background thing, we all know the background of this, right? So I don't think I need to go through this. We've talked about this case enough where everybody knows the background. So now that they've asked for sanctions, they asked for this thing to be thrown out, all of this stuff, they also have a bunch of documents here that support their reason for asking, which hopefully will influence the judge. But the way that she's been playing a little bit of hardball here, I don't know how influenced she's going to be, but we shall see. Right. So, of course, this is the NBC News article talking about the entire situation. And of course, we know that situation. But this is where they highlight the inconsistencies in her allegations. That's the part that he wants, or that they want the judge to see. I'm sure the judge has seen it, but they're trying to drive this point home. Here is a photo of proof of Jay-Z being in the Lotus nightclub, not anywhere else, on the night of the VMA after party. So once again, they're trying to show proof of his whereabouts and where he was. Here, they're showing screenshots from the actual 2000s VMA red carpet event where you have somebody here performing outside the venue in Times Square or wherever this is, fucking Radio Music Hall. And you can see clearly as day, no Jumbotron, right? So that's what they're showing y'all. There's no Jumbotron on this street. So where the hell did she see it? This screenshot here shows y'all the way that the limousines are blocked off away from the general public, right? That they talked about with the police blocking the area. So if she would have walked up to one of these limousines at this time, she would have been confronted by police personnel who would have stopped her. That's basically what they're trying to say. And here we see a visual of how the barricades are set up, and we see people in the crowd at these behind the barricades and the fencing that's there. So she would have had to get through this crowd of people and also jump the fence and get past the police in order for all of this perfect storm to happen, right? Here they show you footage of the Eminem Real Slim Shady show of Eminem and all his doppelgangers on the street, the camera folks on the street, more barricades, more blockades, and separation between the crowd and the artist or anywhere between the street. Here they show photos of Diddy and J-Lo at Twirl with her outfit change and everything that happened from the VMAs and everything. So this is a totally different venue. Jay-Z at Lotus, Diddy at Twirl. So, you know, Diddy had a busy night going on. This here looks like property documents for Diddy at the time to show, you know, I guess his records of where he's lived, to basically show proof that none of the homes that were under his ownership even line up with what they're talking about. Y'all could correct me if I'm wrong on this shit too, by the way. They have records of Diddy's East Hampton's house, which was sold in, what is this, 2001? So all the stuff that people are trying to bring to the table, they're finding ways to debunk all of it. And here's a photo of one of Diddy's homes. And there's no U driveway here. White House out of his properties. No coinciding driveway as to what they're talking about. So none of this could have happened. So these are all of the grounds and, you know, evidence of facts that Jay-Z and his team are sending to the judge, hopeful that she will toss this out and leverage sanctions against Tony Buzbee and his firm. We'll see. Again, she hasn't been very quick to get back to them. She hasn't been very quick to like give any firm stances as of yet. She's just kind of observing things and allowing them to stake their claims. So I don't know how quickly this gets tossed or if it does. I hope it does. Based on what I'm seeing, I would think it would get tossed, but I'm not a legal expert and I don't purport myself to be. Therefore, I have to sit back and watch just like everybody else. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Become an insider. I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Yeah, king of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. Do some straight out the sewer, we come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. But drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they died of me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross some out, came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. When I catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.